What is up, everybody? Hey, thank you for tuning in to episode 2 of Joey Sizzle Sports. Today, I will be going over the Flyers' big trade today for Trevor Zegras, and I will be doing a mock draft from a slightly different perspective, and it'll be way different than my first one. And don't worry, it's not all I'm going to do. It's just the biggest thing on my mind right now is the draft. But this time, I will be the general manager of each team. The last time I was trying to predict what the general manager would do. This time, I'm going to do what I want to do. So, first off, let's talk about the big trade in the NHL today. The Flyers have traded the 45th pick in this year's draft, Ryan Poehling, and a fourth round pick in 2026 for Trevor Zegras, center, forward / winger. Some people think he's going to be a winger. From the Anaheim Ducks. This is a very interesting trade. Obviously, Trevor Zegras' value has gone down considerably because, he would have, 2-3 years ago, they would have probably wanted multiple first plus, better players than Ryan Poehling. Ryan Poehling is a good player. Don't get me wrong. It's just that, he's a fourth line center basically, which is a valuable player. You need a good fourth line center. Trevor Zegras, a lot of upside, playmaker, goal scorer, has some real flashy goals, had multiple Michigan attempts. The Flyers might lead the league in Michigan attempts this year with him and Michkov, which would be interesting, but really not important. Anyway, it's a solid trade for the Flyers. It's a swing. They took a swing. I'm not too thrilled with the trade. But I do reserve the right, as a Flyers fan, to get really excited about the trade when we start seeing results from it. It's just that I don't like injured players. We drafted Nolan Patrick, second overall, and I think it was 2017, and we all know how that worked out. Not well. So, Trevor Zegras' injuries are not as bad as Nolan Patrick's, and, thank God for that. But I'm not a real big fan of injured players. I don't like the risk, but that's how you get players for cheap, and that's what Danny Briere did today, and good on him for it. It's a good trade. It is a good trade. I'm just not that enthused because of the injuries. It's an interesting fit. I'm sure I'm like the 100,000th person to mention that Jamie Drysdale was his best friend. They had a kind of an awkward quote, but I'm not going to repeat that about how close they were as friends, and it's good to have your friends there. It's definitely cool. But sometimes that limits your growth. But, we shall see. Like I said, not really that thrilled about it, but I do reserve the right to be thrilled about it. It's a smart trade from Danny Briere's point of view. He got, a player who was a 9th overall pick not too long ago, 24 years old, just turned 24 years ago old. So he's really young. He's really talented. And maybe he's a fit here. Maybe things work out good for him here. I hope so. Time will tell. We didn't give up a lot for him, a second, a fourth, and a fourth line center. Not bad. Not bad at all. So, let's go Flyers. Anyway, now I will be doing my second mock draft. Sorry that this is, my two main things I'm doing are mock drafts. I'm definitely going to do other things. Don't worry about that. It's just right now with the draft coming up on Friday, this is what, gets my motor running. So, all right, now I move you over to Joey Sizzle Sports, the general manager of the Islanders. And the New York Islanders are proud to select from the Saginaw Spirit, Michael Misa. That's right. I just said it. I don't like injured players. I get it. It's a clavicle. But I still don't like injured players. I like people who play the game. I don't like to be like, oh, look how good he is. And then be like, well, he hasn't played in 4 months, 6 months. It just doesn't sit right with me. I've got the first pick in the draft. I don't want to bring up Nolan Patrick again, so I won't. But, I got the first pick in the draft. I want someone who's healthy. I want someone who's exciting. The Islanders are kind of a boring team. So they need something exciting. And I feel like that they're having attendance problems in Long Island, and they need to get some butts and seats. And I think Michael Misa is that shot in the arm they need. I think that they have like all these nice players who play this nice game where they check and they're tough to play against, and 200-foot players and yada, yada, yada. I want someone exciting. And I think Michael Misa is the best combination playmaker, goal scorer in this draft. He's not the best playmaker, not the best goal scorer, but I think he's the best when you combine those two traits. And that makes him dangerous because if you don't know if he's going to shoot or pass, that's pretty trouble. So, okay. Now, moving on to number two. Um, the Islanders GM has just received a gift basket, a very nice gift basket from the San Jose Sharks with a nice note in it saying, "Hey man, thanks so much for leaving me Schaefer. I thought for sure you were going to take him. And boy, does he make, boy, does that pretty much complete our tanking necessity. We got the number one defenseman, we got a number one center, we got all kinds of good defensemen and good forwards. Now we got the player we want. So obviously the Sharks at number two take Matthew Schaefer. Moving on to number three. Now, I would be taking the same person I gave them in my last mock draft, and that's Caleb Desnoyers. The reason I didn't mention is the defensive upside of Caleb Desnoyers. He's the best two-way center in this year's draft, or at least at the very top of it. Probably is the best two-way center of this year's draft. They need someone who's going to, help out on offense, but I feel like the Blackhawks are easy to play against, and they give up goals too easy. And now this gives them a really good center who's going to stick at center for sure, who can score, can play make, very good playmaker. Some people think he's the third best playmaker in this year's draft, Caleb Desnoyers, that is, and is a really good defensive centerman. And I think that is exactly what the Blackhawks need. So for that reason, at three, I give the Chicago Blackhawks Caleb Desnoyers. At number four, the Utah Mammoth will be selecting. All the rumors were true. They're going with Brady Martin. That's because this GM, I'm the GM saying they're going to get Brady Martin. I'm looking at their team and they have some really good players all over. They got size, they got but they don't really have someone who's going to hit you. They don't really have someone who's going to, play that game to, put some fear in the opponent, put some pain in the opponent's bodies. It's like I was saying about the Panthers, how they kind of take your will away, and having a player like Brady Martin definitely goes a long way towards that. And last year at the draft, everyone talks about it. Pat Verbeek, third overall, took Beckett Seneca, the biggest riser maybe in modern draft history. I didn't even hear about him as a first round pick, and then all of a sudden, like next thing you know, he's just flying out draft boards, and he goes third overall. To the look of shock on his face was hilarious. It's like, I can't believe I just got picked third overall. It was great. That was a great moment in sports draft, and I don't think this one will be as shocking. But Brady Martin is quite the riser, and I'm going to hold the Utah Mammoth to their word that was their guy, and now they're going to take him. Fifth overall. Yeah, I'm sticking with Higgins here, so I'm not going to go too much into it. Sixth overall, giving the Flyers O'Brien again. I'm not going to go too much into it. You can watch my last mock draft if you want to get more information on those two players. Just the same thing I did last time. At seven, that leaves Anton Frondell for the Bruins, and I think this is a great fit for them. I mean, probably best player available. You could definitely argue. That Porter Martone is the best player available, but I feel like this high in the draft, you want centers or defensemen with high upside, and for that reason, Anton Frondell is the pick here at seven. Good player. Some people compare him to Sasha Barkov. I don't really see that, but I like his shot. I like his compete. We'll see how he adapts to the smaller ice in North America. It's bigger ice in Europe. Plays against men. That's a big advantage. Like, for him playing against men in the Allsvenskan, for playing for Djurgårdens, that's big time to be playing against men at his age, 18, I believe. And then, so moving on to number 8, I'm taking a player I really like here for Seattle Kraken. They've never drafted a defenseman in the first round, and that changes, but not for the player you're expecting. I'm taking Jackson Smith here. I really like Jackson Smith. Really good skater, really good skater. Um, you know, I feel like he has more offense than he's showing, and you know, I just I just like the player, and I think he's a little safer than Merca. I feel like Merca does have a little bit more of a bust potential, whereas I think Jackson Smith, you know, his floor I feel like is higher. So I'm gonna stick with Smith here. Number 9, um, again, who I gave Buffalo last time, right hand defenseman. They need right hand defenseman. They get a right hand defenseman. They get Merca. Number 10 is where I have Porter Markatone's slide finally ending. A lot of people have Roger McQueen here at 10 to Anaheim, to the Ducks, who just recently traded away um, uh, Trevor Zegras to the Flyers. But best player available is too. You can't pass up best player available at 10. I think that's where you had to go, and that's Martone. Sorry, Porter Martone. I don't hate you. I think you're really good. It's just that I value other positions more than wing. Number 11, Pittsburgh Penguins. They're going to go with Victor Eklund in my draft. I'm going to give them Eklund because I just like all the things he can do. A lot of people have him ranked as the 5th best player in this year's draft. The Penguins, they seem to like him. They've met with him on several occasions. They've scouted him quite heavily. I could just really see the Penguins doing this. Moving on to number 12, the New York Rangers will be taking Lyndon Lakovich. They just traded away, what's his face, Chris Kreider. And I feel like they just want to replenish the type of player that they traded away. Cheaper, because obviously he's not going to be making, 7-8 million that Kreider's making. He'll be making, 950,000 on his rookie contract, something like that. So yeah, that's how. And then big player. He's going to develop into his body. He's not physical yet, but that can change, and I think that's what the Rangers are going to ask him to do is ask him to be more physical player, use that size, that frame, put some more muscle on it, and be Prider's eventual replacement. All right, number 13, the Detroit Red Wings will be. I would give them Cole Reshny right here. I'll give him the really good player. I just like the way he attacks the net. I like how he's always involved in the play. It seems like the puck follows him, and I don't think the Red Wings really have players like that in their system or on their team. And I could see him getting to the NHL quickly and being a difference maker for them. Number 14, the Columbus Blue Jackets get one of my favorite players in this draft. I'm going to give them Colin Potter. Just dynamic skater. Probably the best skater in this year's draft. Definitely top 3. Dynamic skater, just uses that. He's dangerous every time he's on the ice. He's dangerous every time he touches the puck. Just an exciting player, and I think that he would blend in really well with what they're doing in Columbus. Number 15 is where Roger McQueen's slide finally ends. Vancouver, they need a center. They did their due diligence into his Roger McQueen's medical, into his everything, and they're happy, and they don't think he's a bad risk anymore at 15. Number 16, all right, I'm getting kind of boring here with the Canadiens. They're going to take the 2 players that I think they get mocked the most, like not made fun of, but mock drafted too. And that's Justin Carbonneau and Logan Hensler. I just see them getting in those players. They're kind of a little left-handed, heavy, both offensively and defensively, and it gives them different player types than what they have. And I could really see them going with these 2 players. I think there's a high likelihood they either trade back for extra picks or maybe try to package them and trade up into like the lower half of the top 10, but we're just doing straight picks, and that's who I have them taken. Number 18 is the Calgary Flames, and I think they could really use a player like Carter Bear. I think that I think Carter Bear would be a nice fit there. They're gonna like his motor. They're gonna like the dog in him. They're gonna like the fact that he has a great attitude and he's a, you know, I just think Carter Bear would be a good fit here. Um, Number 19, the St. Louis Blues, and they're gonna go with someone who's gonna give them some grit, someone who's gonna give them some goal scoring, some good assist work, someone who's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder because his team didn't do as well this year, and that's Malcolm Spence. I think that he would just be a great fit with them. I mean, they just have a. I feel like he would be a perfect fit with St. Louis Blues. So they're going to take Malcolm Spence in my draft. Well, I'm going to take them for him since I'm the GM. Number 20 is the Columbus Blue Jackets again. And they just went with a smaller forward. So I'm going to give them a bigger defenseman. And I'm going to give them Max Sinichka. 6'4", good skater, plays with pace, has some offense. I could see Columbus liking this kid, and it kind of balances out their picks. The first pick they get a smaller, speedier player. With this one, they're going to get someone who can, give them some jam, can do some other things for them. 21, the Ottawa Senators. My last mock, I had them taking Shane Van Zaghe, but this time I'm going to give them Bill Zonin, Bill Zano. I'm not sure which is the pronunciation. I like Zano better. It sounds cool. Bill Zano! I'll give them Bill Zonin. And if you notice, the two players I gave the Flyers with their later picks are gone, Colin Potter and Bill Zonin. And those are players I really like. And that's why I gave them to the Flyers in the last pick. And I also really like them, and that's why they're gone now, because they're good players and they're gonna be good hockey players. I think they're both gonna make the NHL and both make differences. Gives the Flyers this pick, and I feel like I had a lot of fallers in my last mock draft, and this time the only faller I really have is Keishon Aitchison, and the Flyers will be snagging him up right here. This is the best player available type pick for the Flyers. Falls into your lap. This is like your dream scenario. Some people think he's like a second pairing defenseman, and like he has a lot of defensive lapses. But I think if you put him in the right positions and you train him up and coach him up real good, I think you're going to see a lot more upside than the downside of the lapses and whatnot. So I think this would be a great pick for the Flyers. I doubt he's there, but in the way I was doing it, and I wasn't, trying to get him here, I was just like, all right, well, the Flyers are going to go best pick player available, obviously at 22. And then I looked down, I'm like, oh my goodness, Aitchison hasn't been picked. Well, I guess I got to pick him here. So that's what happened. 23, I believe I gave Nashville Blake Fiddler last time, and I'm giving them again. I just like the fit. I like that his dad played for the team. I like his size. I just think that that's who they're going to go with. Number 24, the Los Angeles Kings. I think they need a puck moving defenseman, and there's a really good one available right now. And I think this is the best player available pick, and also a bit of a need. Maybe not a need, but Cameron Reed. They're going to get 6 foot, great skater. Probably will be able to power play, be your quarterback on the power play. Just a lot to like with him. And you keep seeing him picked in this area here. 18 to 25, and I think Los Angeles would be really happy with a really good puck moving defenseman. Number 25, the Chicago Blackhawks, and I think they need some muscle up front. I think they have too many smallish forwards. I mean, Desnoyers isn't smallish, and so he'll help. And I'm going to continue adding to some bigger forwards for them, and I'm going to give them Shane Van Saggy. 6'3", 210, Michigan State, working out, this whole year at college because that's what they do a lot of. They lift a lot of weights and focus on nutrition. So I think Chicago is going to really like Shane Van Saggy. He's going to be a good player. Maybe a third line player, maybe a second line player, but you just can't get pushed around. And when you have too many small players, that's what happens. So you get a bigger guy like Van Saggy, and you dare him to try to push you around that. It's like, okay, good luck with that. Number 26. Who's picking 26? Oh, Nashville again. They have two picks pretty quickly, 23 and 26. So they went with James Higgins, and then they went with Blake Fiddler. And now I'm going to give them another smaller forward, but Ben Kindell is he's talent. I like the way there's these players that I just really like the way they attack the net, and they're like the smaller ones. It's Ben Kindell, it's Colin Potter, it's Cole Reshny, the Carter Bear, and Victor Eklund. They just have this. I just like the way they like attack the ice. Like their skating gets them where they want to be. Their smarts, is why they go there. And these are the players that I like in this draft. I like these guys, and I see some good things for all five of them. Going to number 27, the Washington Capitals are going to go best player available here, and they're going to get a good one. They're going to get Braden Coots. I had him going 15 last time, so I guess you could consider him a faller. But, I mean, with Coots, you see him all over the place. You see him sometimes around 15. A lot of people have him mocked at 15. I had him mocked at 15 a long time ago before I started seeing other people mocking him at 15. But I decided to go a little different route because, well, Roger McQueen fell to 15, and I was like, all right, well, they can't pass that up at this point. So, I like Braden Coots a lot. Dynamic. Really solid middle six center. I could see him being a second line center. I could see him being a third line center. I just feel like first line in a pinch. Maybe play wing if you need him to. He has a lot of good traits. Good skater, good shot, good puck handler, good passer. So I think that'd be a good pick there. Best player available at 27. That's pretty good to get Braden Coots there. I'd probably gone by now, but I was doing the way I did the picks. This is where he fell. 28, the Winnipeg Jets. I'm gonna give them Sasha Boumedienne. Puck handling. I mean, puck moving defenseman. Played a year in college. It's good for his development, and best player available. Now, that brings up the Carolina Hurricanes, and I don't see a lot of size in the Hurricanes lineup. I don't see a whole lot of. I mean, they have grit, but I don't see players that really hit. Well, I mean, I guess this guy isn't really known for hitting, but I'm gonna give them extra large center, bit of a riser too. Mason West. Mason West is my first player that I didn't have in my last mock draft, but he's 6'6", well over 200 pounds. He plays prep hockey, I believe, in Minnesota, and he's a quarterback. But he said after this season, because he owes it to his teammates, that he's going to focus strictly on hockey. So this year he's going to play football in the fall, and then after that it's all hockey for him, and he wants to be an NHL player. And he's 6'6". He thinks the game very well. He's raw, but the Hurricanes can wait on a prospect. They have so many. Like I said last time, it seems like they make more picks than anyone else. Especially if you watch day 2 of the draft. It's just like, and now next on the clock is the Carolina Hurricanes, and it's just like, wait, didn't they just pick 4 guys ago? And then they pick 10 guys later. And it's just like, wow, where did they get all these picks from? But But yeah, a lot of people have him going in at the end of the second round, at the end of the first round. Mason West, 6'6" right-handed centers. You know, they love size, they love right-handed, they love center. Um, the NHL in general, not just the Hurricanes. And I feel like I try to give these teams a player profile that they don't really have in their system. I'm trying to give them someone that's going to give them more diversity, like a different style of play, a different size, body type, height, weight, different, all these things. And just looking at the Carolina Hurricanes, um, I just don't see a whole lot. I don't see anyone that's 6'6" on their team. I don't see anyone, you know. And the other thing I like about Mason West is he's a two-sport athlete. Obviously, I mentioned he's a quarterback, and sometimes, like, if you play one sport all the time, you might not see something that somebody plays two, three sports sees. You might have that different perspective, and that could be really beneficial for him. And I think Carolina would really like Mason West here at number 29. Number 30 is the San Jose Sharks, and I'm gonna give them Henry Brusevich. He is their 11th overall pick in last year's draft. Sam Dickinson, he's his partner at London, the London Knights, who won the Memorial Cup, which is where you take all three Canadian Juniors League champions. That's the Western Hockey League, the Ontario Hockey League, and the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League (QMJHL), and then I think the host team. And so I guess the host team was chosen at random at the beginning of the year, and then the three champions. So that way, it's like team. It's a 4-team tournament. So that way, the two teams play, and then the other two teams play, and then they meet, and then the winners meet in the finals. And so Henry Bushevich, I'm sure they've been scouting him while they've been scouting Sam Dickinson. It'd be hard for them not to, because they play on the ice at the same time. Probably 80% of the time they're on the ice, 90% of the time they're on the ice. They're their partners. So I could see them having familiarity with him. It's not doesn't always work out to pick teammates, line mates, but at least they have that camaraderie. And Henry Brusevich he's definitely right there at the end of the first round, at the beginning of the second round. So yeah, I think this would be a pretty good pick for the Sharks. Brings up the Flyers, and I'm going to be a little spicy on this pick. This pick's really spicy. This is the second player that I didn't have drafted in my last mock draft, in the first round at least. And I'm going to give them goalie. No. I'm going to give them Jack Ivankovich. I actually like Ivankovich a little better than I like than I like Joshua Ravensbergen. Bergen, not Burger, everyone. Everyone says Joshua Ravensburger. No, there's an N at the end, not an R. Anyway, I like Ivan Kovic better. I just feel um like Ravensburgen looks the part better, but I feel like Jack Ivankovich is just more devoted to it. It's just he's more naturally of a puck stopper. He's more it's just I feel like Joshua Ravensburgen maybe became goalie because he was that right physical size for it. Because I mean, if you're making a goalie in a lab, he's going to look a lot more like Joshua Ravensburgen than Jack Ivankovich. But I just feel like Jack Ivankovich isn't more of a natural puck stopper. He's so locked in. His eyes are always looking around defensemen. He's always looking for angles. And people who say, "Oh, he's too small. He's too small." He's the same size as UC Saros. UC Saros has been a pretty darn good goalie in the NHL for a while and the Nashville Predators traded away Askarov, and everyone thought he was a can't miss prospect, and they drafted him in the first round, and around 20 or so actually. So So you wouldn't think that they would want to trade him away, but they traded him away because they believe in Soros. Usually Soros. So Ivan Kovic isn't too small to play goalie in the NHL. Being taller, sure, gives you an advantage as far as stopping pucks, but you know what? I just feel like Ivan Kovic has more of that dog in him to be a goalie, to be a puck stopper. To watching the tight tape of the two, I just like Ivan Kovic a little bit better. And yeah, so send all your hate mail, Flyers fans, to Joey Sizzle Sports. I mean, can I mean it's just my opinion. Um, this is a pick I struggled with. I got to 30, and it seemed pretty easy to get there. And when I was at 31, I was just like, man, who am I going to give the Flyers? Like, I'm like looking around, and there's like Ivan Ryabkin. It's just like there's too many things about him. It's just I was gonna give them Charlie Trethaway, and I was like, we could probably get him at 36. Um, just I really struggled with this pick, so I just went with the goalie that I like best, and the goalie I like best in this draft is Jack Ivankovic. You know, maybe one of the Euro guys, Pyotr Andreev, or is it Alexei Medvedev? Um, but this is just the guy that I've seen the most footage of, and I can see him being a pretty good puck stopper, and I could see him helping the Flyers. And then the final pick in the first round, and in this mock, the Calgary Flames. I'm going to give them Kurban Limitov. He's a 6'4", left-handed Russian defenseman, very mobile, very raw though. So he's going to be a bit of a project, but he has star upside, and I think that Calgary would see him as the best player available at this point in the draft. And yeah, so that is my second mock draft. I will be doing more content. It won't just be mock drafts. It's just that the draft is coming up Friday, and that's what I'm thinking about. Um, I'll probably do another mock draft on Friday, right before the NHL draft actually starts. And then after that, I'll be rating how the teams did with their drafts. And then, we'll get into free agency. And, once the NFL starts, I'll be talking football. I'm an Eagles fan. So, yeah. So stick around. Keep watching me. You'll get my opinions on sports. Pretty cool. All right. Well, thanks a lot. Have a good day.